All right, we're here. We're back. It's good to be back to a normal week. Hi, Brett.
Hey Nick, good to be back.
It is. It's been an adventure. The past 2 weeks have been crazy. And now it feels good to just be sitting in my basement talking to you about music.
Just like we did in March and April way back when.
Yes, we are seasoned vets with months and months of experience. What have you been listening to this week? Let's get right into it.
So, kind of to piggyback off our last episode, you sent me down a rabbit hole with some of these bands that you saw that I haven't listened to in years, and now I can't stop now. Like apparently with like Seether put out this greatest hits album.
Mhm.
It's let me get the exact name here. It's Vicennial, 2 decades of Seether.
Yeah, I
And
saw
every
that.
single song is incredible on it. Like it made me remember like just how great they are. Because like
It's
I was so into them in high school, but then like you go back and I'm kind of like catching up on what I missed over the last couple of years, and it's still like really solid material. But then you hear like the hits from back then, and it's just like one after the other, and I
yeah,
just forget like, and they have like millions of listens on all their songs. I guess I just kind
they're
of been sleeping
huge.
on them.
It's funny because I'm in like the same boat. Like these bands that we listened to in high school, like you almost like you don't forget about them. Like I still listen to them here and there, but like you almost take them for granted or you like write them off a little.
It's exactly it.
And then you go back and you're like, no, I like these bands for a reason. Like they're really good. I really enjoy their music. And like that was definitely something that like Rockville sparked back up in me. Like I've been listening to like Seether and Shinedown like nonstop this week.
Yep, I've been having Shine Down here too, and a little bit of Smashing Pumpkins too. After they rocked your
Yeah.
world for the final night.
That I really need to do a deep dive on them because their music is like much more than their hits. And I didn't I didn't really know. Like I knew they were a huge band, obviously. They're the Smashing Pumpkins. Like it's no surprise. But I never like I never really listened to like any deep cuts and their music's pretty diverse. Like their latest album almost gives me like that Nine Inch Nails like industrial kind of vibe. But then their early stuff is just like straight up grunge like goodness.
Yet their first three albums are like iconic, and then they started to get a little weird after that, and like band members started to leave and everything. But those first three, like they're pretty much flawless.
Yeah, it's what? It's Gish, Melancholy something, and
And Siamese Dream,
yeah, yeah,
that's the
those
best
are
one probably. Siamese Dream,
that's the
or
purple
my
and
favorite at
orange one,
least.
I think.
The one with the babies on the cover.
Yeah, that's those are
Yeah,
heavy hitters. Yeah, they played a bunch. Like I was gonna save Rockville talk for the last day of Rockville because we never got into it, but since we're talking about the Smashing Pumpkins, I'll just go right into them. They like played a huge variety from like all those albums, and it just brought me back to like all those songs. Like I remember playing like Cherub Rock on Guitar Hero. Like shout
it
out
was on
Guitar
Guitar
Hero 3.
Hero.
Yeah. That might have been my first exposure to Smashing Pumpkins. Like I'm not ashamed to say it. Like born in the 90s.
That opener's so good. Like the opening like minute of that song,
Yeah.
like
Uh
that build up.
it's so good. And then the song what is it? Zero? Like that song is sick.
That goes hard. Yep.
He had like they opened with I don't remember what they opened with, but they played Bullet with Butterfly Wings like pretty early on in the set. And there's like a scream in that he didn't do the first time, the first like verse or chorus or whatever. I remember being kind of disappointed, like, oh, does he not scream? And I think he was just building some anticipation because he definitely screamed during their set. It was pretty cool.
There's
Like,
a bunch of screams in that song.
yeah, they let it rip. Like, and then they got dark with it. They got almost jammy with it. They did a Talking Heads cover that like I always hear Fish cover. So like what's the Once in a Lifetime, like days go by da, 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 da.
Yeah, they did cover that. Yep. I'm looking at their set list now.
Yeah, it was a pretty good set list. And then there was this one song I'm blanking on the name, but he brought his kids out and they like danced during it. And he has like a daughter and a son. They must have been like, I don't know, 4 or 5. And they were like totally unfazed by like I don't know, 30,000 people in the crowd. And his daughter had like, you could tell she had like this rehearsed dance to the chorus and she was like hitting all the moves and like just smiling ear to ear. Like it was so cute. Like these kids, like how many kids get to do that? It's crazy.
See, it's Sear was the song or CYR.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's one of the newer ones. Um, I'm not positive on that, but
That's great. I didn't even know you had kids.
yeah, he's apparently like a pretty what's it called? Like um I don't want to say
Troll,
controversial, but like people
a bit of a
have
troll.
opinions on him. Like I like Billy Corgan, like everyone knows his name, but I didn't know all these like I don't know. People just have strong opinions on him one way
Yeah,
or the other.
a lot of people think he's an asshole.
Yeah, that's basically what I was reading a lot about.
Yeah,
I don't know anything firsthand to like really confirm or deny. I will say when they came out, um, they came out on the stage like not really playing yet, and the crowd cheers, and he just stands there and like looks at the crowd, and it kind of felt like a look like cheer for me more, and everyone did, and then they like went into a song. He had like this pentagram thing on his head, like it almost looked like the hymn logo, like with the heart and like the circle around it or something.
was it drawn on or was it like something he was wearing?
It was drawn on. I sure hope it's not a permanent tattoo. I
Okay.
highly doubt it is, but it was a great set. It was one of the few like headlining sets we got. And
Oh, they played Drown too from the single soundtrack.
yeah, yeah,
That's a good song.
no, I really like that song. And I was researching it because I couldn't find it on any album and I was confused, but it was released the same time that Gish came out. And but it was for like you said, like a soundtrack, but it's that
Low
same like
key, amazing soundtrack.
I gotta look this one up. What is it on? What is
It's
the
this
soundtrack?
singles.
It's just called Singles. Is
Yeah,
that a
it's like a
movie?
Cameron Crowe movie. Yeah, I
Alice
think
in
it's a Cameron
Chains,
Crowe
Pearl
movie.
Jam, Chris Cornell,
One of Chris Cornell's
and
best songs is on that
Soundgarden,
album,
Jimi
Winter.
Hendrix. That is a pretty crazy soundtrack. And
Like Pearl Jam is like in the movie.
that's sick. That's great.
It is Cameron Crowe. Okay,
Yeah,
let me
definitely
make
been
sure that's
going down.
accurate.
Or this is a music podcast, not a movie podcast, so we can't be held accountable for incorrect
For
movie
the
takes.
directors.
Yeah, I've been big on like all those bands. I thought Shinedown had an album coming out today, but it's July 1st, not June
Got
1st.
delayed.
So yeah, I think it had to do with the vinyl thing. They said they wanted to hold off, but
That's why
it,
Coheed moved theirs back too.
they got to get their sales. I don't blame them, but I want the albums to come out.
Yeah,
They
give
put
us
out
something.
another single today, Shinedown. I think it's called Daylight, but it was like a piano ballad. Like they're a band that
They've
you
never done that before.
right you expect to get a couple per album, but like at least with like the current state of Shinedown, like just give me like killer guitar riffs. It's really like all I want. Like Zach Myers he's a mastermind. He has so much fun on stage and like we sell like so many of his guitars at work. Like he has a PRS signature model and like you slap his name on any guitar and they just fly off the shelves.
I think it's like kind of not underrated, but like it's almost like forgotten like how much they're loved. But like they're like kind of on that same level of Seether. Like they get millions of listens, but I feel like we don't hear about them as much as we used to, or maybe we're just not seeking it out like we were.
Yeah, I agree. I think I put them as bigger than Seether right now. I
They're
mean,
they're definitely bigger.
when we saw them, Seether opened. they they headlined, but yeah, they do a good job of like that like big rock band type band. Like they can command the crowd, they can pull out the heavy stops, they can do the lovey-dovey light up the crowd type stuff. Like they're just they're good at it. They're performers, you know. These these guys that headline these festivals, like you can tell the difference. Like the opening bands, like not all of them, but some you can tell are just playing their songs and they do a great job at it. But the bands that become headliners, they are putting on a show. Like they are commanding the crowd.
It's about that stage presence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. Um, this album, No Pressure, came out today by this band, No Pressure. We were like kind of talking about it a little, just to switch over to pop punk. Um, so I never heard of these guys, but it was like being like touted on Reddit, and everyone was like really hyping it up. So it turns out it's Parker Cannon, who is the dude from The Story So Far. And like, I guess they haven't put anything out in a little bit, 2017 maybe.
It's been a little while for them.
Yeah, I don't know if they called it quits or if they just are like on a hiatus, but
They got a little heat for a while because I'm pretty sure like after he like drop kicked that fan on stage.
really, I didn't hear that.
It's like a
Well,
crowd surfer came up on stage and like just drop kicked him.
oh, I do remember that.
It might have been a girl. I think that's why it was like really like really
Ooh,
problematic. But
yeah. I mean, crowd violence is okay, but not if you're hitting a girl.
no,
There's the motto. There's the lesson to take. Uh,
I
yeah,
might be mixing stories. That might be two separate stories I'm mixing together, but like both of those things happen. I'm just not sure if it's at the same time.
don't hit your fans. I think that's pretty
I
pretty
think that's
safe.
fair.
Yeah. Unless you're that band, who's that like crazy metal band that like throws like fake blood onto their crowd?
Guar,
Yeah, they can hit their fans. Yeah,
their
this
fans
al-
probably love it too.
they do. One of like my friends is he loves them, and he was telling me like they wear like all white to those shows, and then they just get like covered in like fake like blood and shit, like all this
Yeah,
gross stuff. He's like, and then we go to a diner after. It's real fun. I'm like, this does not sound fun.
it doesn't sound fun at all.
It sounds horrible. But this album's really good. It gave me like early Blink vibes. It's 10 tracks, but it's only 22 minutes. And it's just like fast pop punk. But there's some of the songs have like a lot of like that reverby guitar, which kind of gives you like self-titled Blink sort of vibes. And then
I'm a sucker for reverb, so I'm probably gonna like this one.
yeah, you'll definitely like it. There's a song Big Man that kind of gives me some 41 vibes. It's just like a good old like classic pop punk feeling album. And it's only 20 minutes, which is always nice. I love short albums.
It's like an EP length, but it's an
Yeah,
LP.
yeah. I don't, I still don't, I'm still not confident in EP versus LP versus album. Like, is an LP just an album? Then why do they have to say LP?
A fancy way of saying full length album.
But it's only 20 minutes. It sounds like an EP to me. It doesn't
Is
make
it
any
like the
sense.
total number of tracks? I guess.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would make more sense because some of these tracks are only like a minute. One of them's a minute 10.
So like, what's the cutoff? Like 7 is the most for an EP.
I think that sounds fair. I'd say they probably average out to like 5 songs.
Then like
Most
Tool has
people.
like 7 on their new album, but it's like 80 minutes, but it's only 7 songs.
Yeah, the old EP loophole. Um,
It's a
well,
very gray area.
yeah, I mean, as long as the songs are good, call it whatever you want. Who cares?
I think that should be the overall message from us from the podcast.
Yeah, write good songs, call your album
We don't
whatever
care
you
what
want.
it is.
Doesn't matter. Um, you told me to listen to an older album,
I did.
not super old, but like kind of, because you don't think 2010 is very old, and then you realize it was 12 years ago. But Japan Droid's Celebration Rock.
Turned 10 last week,
Wow.
which is crazy. Because like that's like a so with that album for me, that's like kind of like the high I'm always chasing when a new album comes out, like one that like just completely takes over your world and like you remember where you were and just how it took over like your headphones for like a good 6 months to a year. And it was all you could listen to. And like you put it on today, and I'm probably gonna be listening to it like all week again. But it's something that doesn't happen as often as I'd like it to. I don't know if like you're chasing that too, like when you come across a new album, but like it's like on there, it's up there with like On the Impossible Past for me, or like a 59 Sound.
Dude,
It's like an
100%.
iconic album of my lifetime.
I was going to compare it to Messengers. It kind of felt like, I don't know where these guys are from, but to me, it feels like a
Canada.
California Messengers. Canada. Is it
They're
West Coast
Canadian.
Canada?
I think like Toronto.
It give me like, I don't know, it just gave me West Coast vibes for some reason. But
2 guys making all that noise.
wow, really? That's crazy. 2 guys. They it was a great album. Like I never really knew much about them. I've heard their name before, but I never listened to them much. And then you told me to put this on, and it was perfect. I was like down the shore driving along the beach. I had the windows down, and like the album was like a perfect soundtrack for that.
It's a great drive album, especially like
Yeah.
Adrenaline Night Shift comes on. Like
Oh yeah, that one
you
was good. I
can't
had
not
that one
speed
written
to that
down.
song.
Right. And I appreciate an album that gives you the opportunity to sing along with it on the first listen. Like they had a good amount of like ohs and ahs without like overdoing it. Where by the second chorus, you can kind of like sing along roughly, especially if you're alone. Like you
Oh
can just
yeah,
make noises that kind of go with the album. Like
and it sets like oh, go ahead.
it was just I felt like it was like very like approachable, like but still interesting.
It's a good way to put it, and I feel like it lives up to its name too. Like it begins with fireworks and ends with fireworks to live up to that Celebration Rock uh, name, I guess we'd say.
Yeah.
But but I don't like it's again like it's something that if you've never listened to this album, I like highly recommend you go listen to it right now and play it all the way through because there's not a single bad song on here, and you get so many different vibes of like other artists out there. Like there's some Springsteen sprinkled in there with like Fire's Highway. There's really heavy with Evil Sway.
Yeah.
Again, Adrenaline Night Shift is incredible. The Toronto Maple Leafs actually used to take the ice to the house that Heaven built in Toronto.
Oh, it's sick.
So that's why it's like their most played song.
Oh yeah, by far. Wow. 13 mil.
But it's got everything. And like people were like kind of anticipating for them to return like 5 years ago. And they finally put out like a new album in 2017. And it was good. It wasn't as good as this. And now everyone's hoping they put another one out again because it's been 5 years. But we'll see if that happens.
It's
I'm
always
cautiously optimistic.
tough to follow like a quote unquote perfect album. Like when
I
you
thought it
really
was
nail it.
I thought it was really good though. Like near to the wild heart of life is what it's called, and the self-titled song is really good. So is Arc of Bar,
I
No
like
No Drink or
how
Drug.
all their album covers kind of have the same like black and white
Yeah,
format. It's pretty cool.
and Post Nothing's really good too. That came out before that.
Oh
Like people
nine.
weren't sure how they're gonna follow that one up, and then they put out Celebration Rock, and just like blew everyone's minds.
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep listening to this. It's gonna be a good summer album that is new to me. So that's always exciting. I don't care when it came out. It's new for me, which is
It
nice.
took over my 2015. I think I was late to getting to it, but when it got there, it didn't leave for a while.
It's funny how that works. Like it doesn't always necessarily matter when an album came out, but when you get like addicted to it. Like I didn't get into like Pinkerton until we were in college, and that's like at least 20 years after it came out. But like for me, that was when it like hit home. Like if I would listen to Pinkerton when I was like 9, I would have been
Would have
like,
gone right over your
what the
head.
hell is this? Yeah. So sometimes like an album just finds you at the right time, and it's always nice.
Very well said.
Yeah.
One of my favorite
Um,
sayings: "The album will find you at the right time."
it's great. It's great. And thank you for sending it to me. You
I'm
helped me
glad you
find it,
like it.
but yeah, it was good timing. It really was nice for that weekend.
They're also a live band that's on my list, but they don't really tour that much either. They toured when the new album came up, and now they've been quiet for 4 years now, 3 years. Well, I guess COVID happened, so that kind of threw a wrench in everything. But still,
Yeah,
maybe they wrote an album in that time that's coming out soon. Who knows?
it's true. I mean, a lot of these guys they're artists. Like they don't stop writing. It's just a matter of if they turn that into albums or not. But if if they're writing all the time, maybe we'll get something.
I hope so. If not, I'm at least glad we have these albums that we already do from them
Yeah,
and a classic.
yeah. Speaking of albums that came out a while ago, we have a band that put a new album out that hasn't done anything since, man, I think 2007. So Scary Kids Scaring Kids. Do you remember them?
You said this name to me before. I was like, that's a band I haven't thought about since I was like a teenager.
Right? They were kind of like a I don't want to say a throwaway band because that's kind of mean, but like they were just like a B-side band that like bamboozle and stuff that like
A Warped
they
Tour.
they had a couple songs like the song I think it was The City Sleeps in Flames or something like that. Had like a really cool synth intro. It
Was
was
they on like Punko's Pop or one of those?
they must have been because they were like they were pretty big in the scene when those were all coming out. But I don't remember what they covered on it. But they just put an
Find
album
out.
out last week called Out of Light. And so I don't know what happened to their vocalist, but he's not with the band anymore for whatever reason. So what they did with this album was they got a guest vocalist on every single song. And there's 12 tracks on it and it has a different vocalist for everyone. And
That's pretty cool.
it is. And what I like about it is they didn't like the album doesn't necessarily feel like cohesive,
Cohesive.
but like that's okay. Like I'd almost rather they work the songs to the vocalist rather than working the vocalist to their album. So every song like has a different feel. Like the dude from Ice Nine Kills is on a song, Spencer
From
Carnus, I
Under
think his
Oath.
name is. And yeah, Under Oath is on. Spencer Chamberlain is the Under Oath guy. We got two Spencers on the album. Then Noah Sebastian from Bad Omens, who's on that's that band that's going to be opening for Day to Remember. Um, Cove Reber, who was from Sayerson at one point. I know Sayerson went through like a ton of vocalists. And
He
then
was right after Anthony Green, right?
yeah. Who do you know which one sang on the song You're Not Alone? Because that was like the
That's
Sayerson
Cove.
song. Then he's a legend. I fucking love that song. Song is so good. But yeah, he's on the album, and then Mod Sun is on the album because he used to be the drummer for Scary Kids, Scaring Kids. And I was actually at their last show ever. My friend's younger sister wanted to go, so we took them, and it was at like the School of Rock in Hackensack, and just like this small hole in the wall place. And they played what they said would be their last show ever. And then the drummer was like, I'm going to do this side thing with rapping. Like, I'm going by Mod Sun, like, follow me. I was like, that's weird, but okay.
And that's what
And like,
happened.
now he's like, I'm pretty sure he's like very successful. I think he's engaged to Avril Lavigne. Like, the, the dude's like, I don't
Doing
know.
all right for himself.
Yeah. I think he was doing the whole like rapping white guy emo guitar player thing like before anyone else, and now like it all caught up to him. Like he gives me like MGK vibes and like his song with them, but that's the most played one on the album. I was interested like with 12 different vocalists, like what song got the most plays, and his got the most, and then the second most was someone called Lil Lotus. Do you know this person?
I feel like it sounds familiar for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think I know him, but I looked him up and he's like tattooed head to toe, face tattoos, the works. And yeah, his song was fine. Also kind of gave me like MGK vibes, but I don't know, maybe just like I'm just generalizing like white rappery dudes. That could be on me.
Doing pop punk.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. It was a cool album. I don't know that I'll go back to it a ton, but I like the idea. Different vocalists on every song. Pretty unique.
Oh, and they were on two Punk Goes albums. They're on Punk Goes 90s and Punk Goes Crunk. They did Losing My Religion for Punk Goes 90s REM cover.
Yep.
And they did Notorious Thugs for Punk Goes Crunk.
Punkos Crunk. Man, that album
Which
was
I think was Notorious B.I.G., right?
I would
Notorious
guess.
Thugs. I think that was the song with him and Bones Thugs in Harmony.
Oh yeah.
Bone Thugs in Harmony. There you go.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I like the Punkos Crunk Volume 2. Oh man, those albums were great. But Still Fly, Devil Wears Prada. Actually, that might have been on the first one. But
That was a great cover.
that one was so good. We used to cover that in my band. Well, like we were a horrible high school band, but we would just like rip Still Fly. It was so fun.
That was on the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes into All Time Low's cover of Umbrella right after that.
Another awesome cover. What a great idea. Do they still do those? They should actually I think they do because Dance Gavin Dance has that awesome Bruno Mars cover.
So the last one that
Plus,
came out was Punko's Acoustic Volume 3 in 2019. And before that, it was Punko's Pop Volume 7. Wow. A lot of Punko's Pop out there.
yeah, they are still doing it. Yeah, Dance Gavin Dance covers. That's what I like, and it's awesome. Like if you haven't listened to that one, definitely put that on. It's such a good one to throw on when you're like at a party or something because everyone knows the song and then they get kind of confused because it's not who they think it should be.
That's what I used to love about it.
Yeah. And remember Silverstein's cover of Apologize?
That was a great one.
That's
And like people think it's like a nice cover, and then he's like screams the bridge.
Now you're on your own. Got me 6 feet off. Whoa, whoa. Oh man.
That's when Did I Remember covered Over My Head too on that one.
Yeah. What a
And
great
August
idea.
Burns Red did Baby One More Time.
We need another one of those. I'm sure they're not done.
They got their own Spotify channel.
There's probably a playlist with like all of them ever. That would probably be pretty good.
They're like an
Shuffle through.
artist. You just type in Punkos and it brings you
Oh
all.
damn. Remember the Framing Hanley version of Lollipop?
That was another great cover.
Dude, I put their album on. I was gonna save them for a Hey Remember, but they have this album, The Moment. I used to listen to this album all the time. Home
Like a
Built for
fire
Sin.
song they did.
I only know this album to be honest, but it was one I played like the hell out of. Yeah, they
Hear Me
did.
Now. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hear Me Now, Built for Sin, Slow Dance, like the whole album. I was just a big fan of, and it was that Lollipop cover that got me to them. So shout out covers. Sometimes they're needed.
And then like sometimes people like their cover becomes like bigger than the original song. I can't talk right now, but
Yeah. And then, oh man, I can't think of many off the top of my head. I know we've like mentioned 1985 before. Atari's Boys of Summer. I don't know if that's bigger than Don Henley, but I think to our
it's
generation, it
close to our
certainly is.
generation. Yeah.
Yeah, I could touch on a couple more Rockville bands real quick. I saw this band called I don't know if it's a band or just I mean it is a band, but she goes by Poppy. I don't know if you've heard of this person. She's so cool. Like I was like completely smitten watching this chick perform. Like she had on like this huge like almost like wedding dress looking thing, and then she had this band behind her that was just like ripping like metal like riffs and all this stuff. But then they would switch it up so much. Like I can't even do it justice. Like their music is that all over the place. They had like a jazz breakdown, and then she would just let loose these screams. Like, dude, you gotta just put on like I don't know.
Did Poppy with a Y?
Yeah, the song like "Say Cheese" is pretty good. They're all so different that I don't even know how to talk about it. Like the album I Disagree is the one I've been listening to, but you'll put it on and be like, this is like nothing I've heard before. It feels poppy, like actually poppy, but then there's just like
Unintended.
these killer breakdowns and she's screaming and it's just so all over the place. I don't know. One of my friends at our tent was like, yo, come check this band out or this girl out called Poppy. So I walked over with them and completely like blew me away. It was so good.
That like reminds me of like the first time I saw Skillet like open for Shinedown. They came out like on stage with like a cello. I'm like, what is this band? And like they just kick your ass. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, it's very much like you take a look at them and might think one thing, and then you hear a couple minutes and then you think you know what they're doing, but then they just flip it on its head. It's wild.
So maybe
Right.
more King Gizzard then.
Yeah, but even King Gizzard feels like they're switching genres throughout their songs, but like they have a plan. This just is so chaotic. I don't even know what to make of it. And it's why I keep listening to it, because I can't figure it out, and it's like addicting in a weird way.
I'm
But
definitely gonna listen to this.
yeah, it is. She's really good, and so is the band. I don't know how I'm supposed to refer to them, but Poppy, yeah. And then we've also been listening to a ton of Cold Years still, which
Oh yeah,
we can finally talk about. We didn't want to jinx ourselves or anything, but
our
we had
biggest interview yet.
yeah. But yeah, we had Ross Gordon on of Cold Years, and we've not quietly been very addicted to this album. Like you were talking before about albums that you hear once and like they just like steal your world for a little bit. And that's what this one's been doing.
That's yep. That one hasn't left my rotation, and in fact, Paradise got added to that rotation over my week of travels.
So that's their first album, their
I
debut album, I think.
believe it's their debut.
Yeah. I listened
But
to
like
it once or twice, but I haven't been able to pull myself away from Goodbye to Misery yet.
when you let it play all the way through, there's a bunch of songs on here that are gonna hook you in. Like Night Like This is like a perfect summer driving song, or even like for like hanging out in your backyard. It's an incredible song. Northern Blues is really good. 62 is absolutely incredible. Too Far Gone is good. The whole album is just, you see what would build up to Goodbye to Misery on it. Like they've like definitely fine-tuned who they are with Goodbye to Misery, but this one is kind of like if you listen to like Green Day's Kerplunk before like they put out Dookie.
Yeah, you like
It's kind
get
of like
glimpses
that.
of it. You're like
Yeah.
knowing where they go.
Yep.
Oh, it's very cool. Yeah, it's gonna make its way in. It's just I haven't been able to pull myself away from Goodbye to Misery just yet.
Completely understandable though.
But yeah, hopefully they tour here. We talked to him about it a little, so that's the plan for them. So we'll definitely be at that show.
I have a prediction, but I'm not sure if I should save it for after the interview.
Ooh, will it spoil parts of the interview?
No, if I just have a prediction of what's going to happen when they come over here.
Ooh, all right. Well, we'll go to the interview and then we'll come out and you can fill us in.
It's a little tease there.
Oh yeah. All right, let's go over to Ross and we'll see you guys on the other side. All right, we now welcome on a very, very special guest. He is Ross Gordon, singer, guitar player, and songwriter for Scotland's very own Cold Years. He grew up in a small town miles away from everything. He risked it all, and he's never looking back again. Ross, we're so excited to finally have you on. Goodbye to Misery has been on repeat for both of us since it came out. How's the tour been going? Those Germany shows look really fun.
Well, thank you for having me on here, firstly and foremost. I love you guys, so this is really, really cool. The tour was incredible. If you could call it a tour, it was like 3 dates. Like it was, but you know, it was really, really cool. Like Hamburg, Berlin, and Cologne. That for us, it felt like a real turning point for us. Like, you know, two of the rooms were sold out. We had people doing a wall of death in Hamburg. I'd never ever seen anything like that kind of reaction before for us in Europe. So it was a really, really cool experience. And yeah, it was just incredible. Crowd participation was awesome. And I think people are really happy that live music is back and they can participate in it, which is so cool. So yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is like the calm before like the real tour, right? Because you kick it off in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we go around all of Europe with Laura Jane Grace for like 3.5 weeks, which is awesome. Like it's, you know, we're going out on tour with someone who was inspirational for us as musicians and instrumental in us writing our own music. And, you know, Against Me were such a massive part of all of our lives growing up. This is like an opportunity that's like, you know, once in a lifetime for us. So yeah, really stoked on that tour.
That tour coming overseas anytime soon? Because like we'd love to see you live. I'm sure there's many people in the country that would.
It's funny you mentioned that. We're actually about to go kick off the American visa process because yeah, we are coming to the US.
Let's
go.
We're coming over a few times next year. We're just waiting on stuff being finalized. So it's really exciting. Always wanted to go to the US. You have Denny's in America, and I can't wait to get Denny's and In-N-Out Burger and caramel M&Ms and Ruffles chips, all that stuff. Yeah. And the shows, of course, which are cool.
Oh yeah.
All that stuff's here waiting for you to.
Yeah, man.
We got the food and beer ready to go and all the tires.
BBR is my favorite beer, and it's really expensive here, so I'm looking forward to drinking it
What?
over in the US. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like one of the cheaper beers here. That's like the go-to for buying 30 packs.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
were you supposed to tour here like earlier and COVID messed it up, or?
Yeah, when we were releasing Paradise, we had some dates in the US penned in, and then essentially the pandemic stripped it all away from us. And it's been, you know what, actually, it's in a good way to a certain extent. It allowed us to write this record, and it's going to mean that when we finally get to come over there, it's like been pent up for so long. We're so stoked to do it that it's going to make it all worthwhile. So yeah, really
Hell yeah.
exciting. Really exciting.
This album, like for us, like kind of came out of nowhere and we liked it so much, like right off the bat. It reminded us of so many other bands, but still had like a new vibe to it. And it's awesome. Like I was just thinking how like two dudes in like New Jersey can relate to this album that some guys over in Aberdeen wrote. Like it's just wild to me. Do you ever think about like how you reached all these people?
You know what it is? I think like for us, this record was different because I wanted to make a punk record. I grew up listening to punk rock. It was like one of the biggest things for me as a kid. And I think, you know, a lot of people in the UK in particular right now have a very particular sound. And I think for us, it was about not conforming to what other people did. And we weren't really scared to push back a little to the kind of music we were brought up on. And I think that's why it maybe hits some people now, is because it reminds you of, you know, like music and how it was maybe 10, 15 years ago and what was going on in the punk rock scene at that time. And for us, it was a really important thing to do. And I think, you know, this record covers so many different subject matters. You know, there's everything from a loss and losing your home to breaking up with people or moving cities, or, you know, and coping with isolation and loneliness and, you know, uncertainty. I think a lot of people have faced a lot of those things over the last few years. And it really was like I think that's why people associate with it, is because we kind of wrote it from everyone's perspective and not just our own, which is why I'm kind of hoping it touches some people, you know, definitely.
It's definitely touched a lot of people here. And like another thing about like, it just sounds like so big. So I'm just curious, like how you guys like did that. Cause like the second, like I sent it to Nick, I'm like, you have to listen to this record. He texted me back like 2 seconds later, like, oh my God, we were just like freaking out, and we're still freaking out over it. Cause it's just like, I don't know how to describe it, but like it's massive the way it sounds.
So there's like a few things. I didn't want to write a record. Like, I think when we were writing this record, we had the general consensus that a lot of people during the pandemic were going to write music that was slow or sad or kind of like a little more emotional. And for us, it was like, we want to write a record that people are excited to come see live and all this shit's over. We want to write something that people are like, oh my God, like I want to go and see live music. So all of the songs are high tempo, high paced. They have some really, I guess, what I would call self-indulgent moments in them, which are like rock and roll, and that it's still a part of life, and it needs to be. It's something that needs to be passed on. And also the big sound, it's just a pile of Marshall amps with a pile of Les Paul Juniors cranked as loud as they go, and layered and layered and layered. I think on like some of the songs, there's like maybe 30 layers of rhythm guitar, which is something that I really wanted to do because, you know, if you listen to all the great punk records over the last few years, there's been this thing around lo-fi or like cheaper production being cool, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. I want something that sounds full in my ears, and that's what we really wanted to do with this. We weren't scared to go for that on this record and really push it. So yeah, lots of guitars is the answer.
Do you just, this one's kind of for me, but do you play in standard on this, or did you tune down or anything?
We play, so originally it's a complex one.
So I was trying to learn headstone and
right. So our first few records were all in D standard, and then we actually we tune all the old stuff up a half notch now to E flat, and then on this record is a mix between standard and E flat. It depends on the song. Headstone's in E flat. Sorry, no, it's not. Headstone is in E standard, and it's in the key of B.
Oh, I
It's a
got it. Hell yeah.
G,
I was
yeah.
just trying to learn the intro on my bass and I've been just like plugging away at it for a few
Uh,
weeks.
it's yeah.
Have you picked up a bass and just tried to like rip that intro, even though you're the
I
guitar guy?
I can't do what Louis does. So like he actually, the first part, it's a funny thing you mentioned that, because that song, that was the first piece of that song that was written, was just him screwing around with this bass intro. And I was like, this is really cool. Let's write a song that's like 200 BPM. Who cares? And that's how it all came out. So yeah, but it yeah. So like we fluctuate between a couple of tunings, but I think for us it was a case of just like going for it on this record, and not being scared to just unleash that kind of, like, I think the faster, harder stuff for me is some of the most fun stuff to play live, and that's so important.
Yeah. 100%. It's the videos looked like awesome. For the Headstone videos from Germany that you put on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, the theme of the album, or like a lot of it is like you writing about leaving home and like going out to the big city or somewhere else, which I think anyone can relate to for sure. But you actually did it, which is so cool. Did you write this while you were moving or after you moved, or like when did this happen?
It was kind of like throughout the period. So there's a little bit of the record before, and then some during and some after. And I think it really helped. Without doing that, I don't think we could have written this record, because it just gives, like, moving to a new place. Like, I lived in the same city my whole life. I never left home. So to finally do that at like 32 years old, and I was like, oh, I've actually, it gives you something else to write about. Smells different, sounds different, everything's different. There's new people, there's new places. The place I live now, I can go and see live shows 7 nights a week. Like, I couldn't do that where I lived before. The place I live now has a subway. The place I lived before, we didn't even have buses. So like, it's a totally different experience, and it really shaped pretty heavily on how the record sounded and what the lyrical content formed up. So yeah.
I think you just answered one of my questions I have for you. Was we've noticed like there's songs that call 31, 32, 62. So are those, like, I know the first two are probably around your age, but where does like 62 come from as far as like the other number titles?
62 is the percentage of Scottish people who voted against Brexit.
Ah, okay.
I hate Brexit. I hate the Tory party, and I hate the I guess I hate being British. I'm not British, I'm Scottish. There's a difference. It's not the same thing. And for us, that song was a real statement around that. And it was the fact that our country's being controlled by a government that we didn't vote for. Much like probably what's happening in America right now, I guess.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
It's been a hectic 8 years for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, you have a few songs, like I know like Britain is Dead definitely touches on that same thing. It's good you're not afraid to like dip into it a little bit.
The thing is, like, we're not a political band, and I don't, I'm not anti-flag, even though I love anti-flag. I'm not anti-flag. The only thing I would say is that I think as an artist, you have an opportunity to spread awareness or spread your view, and I think you'd be kind of copping out if you didn't say something. There's so much going on in the world right now, between the aftermath of the pandemic, our country leaving the European Union, the cost of living crisis, the war in Ukraine, the Black Lives Matter movement throughout all of the writing process for this record. We had the Me Too movement. We had the murder of Sarah Everard in the UK by the police in this country. There was so much like happening at the time. And I think like you have to, I'm not saying you'd be a coward if you didn't say anything, but you'd be selling yourself short if you didn't have something to say about it. Because if you've got a political or even a general conscience, you have to say something. And for us, we weren't scared to do that. Even if it isolates us from certain listener groups, don't listen to my band. I don't care. And that was it for us. We needed to be able to say something about what was going on. 100%.
I think that's like what a lot of people are connecting to, like not only the sound, but like the lyrical content. Cause like so much of what's going on in the UK is happening here. It's like fascinating to hear you talk about it, because it's like we're so similar.
Yeah, I mean, and I touch a lot about it on there's a song on the record called Control, which really our government in the UK is doing everything it can to control us and manipulate us and lie to us. And almost like, I mean, I guess there are parallels. I mean, you know, we don't have, I think for me, like religion's a big part of that too. And like I guess the historical context of government and the role that it plays within a country, and how, you know, they everything has to be traditionalized and everything has to be about core Christian values and all this kind of stuff. And it just like, it's not something I associate with. I'm not an anarchist, but I'm definitely not on the right hand side of the fence. I don't believe in, you know, capitalism or controlling your population or lying to them or using the media as a way of manipulating your population. And I think in this country that happens a lot. And then if I watch Fox News, I can tell the same thing's happening in America. So it's a scary time to live in, but a great time to be in a punk band, definitely.
Yeah,
You know?
there's lots to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
To bring it back to the music a little bit, on Wasting Away, did you just tell your drummer to go like crazy at the end?
Right. Okay, so that one was really specific, and the drummer on the record was a guy called Sam Ogden, who played in a band. He plays in a band called Static Dress, and he's like I guess like Keith Moon. You know, like this kid, he's so young. He's only like 21, 22, but he is unbelievable on the drum. Like, I'd never seen anybody do that. I mean, he recorded the whole record, all of the drum parts were done in 2 days, and in some cases, some of it was done first take. And on Wasting Away, there's a song on Dookie called Burnout, which has this part in it where Trey does this and I was like, how cool would it be to have like a drum solo on a song that kind of did the same thing as that, but was a little bit more technical and a little bit more us. And that's where the inspiration for that part came from, which it's one of my favorite moments on the record, 100%.
Yes.
You just mentioned Green Day. Like, I know you've probably seen like tweets since this album came out, like of people comparing this to American Idiot. Like, how does that make you feel, like hearing this compared to like an album that huge?
I can't deal with it, and it's so funny because like, you know, I remember being a kid when that came out, and so many people in my school were like, "This sucks. This isn't band. What is this? Yeah. This isn't punk rock." And I just remember being like, "What is punk rock?" And it was like this thing where all of a sudden, I remember Jason he did a review of the record and he compared it to that. And I just almost had a breakdown reading it. Because I was just like, I can't believe that our name and their name is on the same sentence, let alone, you know, that album is on the same sentence. And it definitely wasn't something that we set out to do, but I think unintentionally, you know, if I read what he said and then I take it in context of the record, I can kind of get where he's coming from the subject matter and I guess the way the songs flow together. But, you know, for me, it blew my mind completely.
Yeah, I definitely noticed like the comparisons. It's right there. Also gave me a little bit of like Black Parade vibes, like on your intro and some of the ways you like slow it down and stuff. Are you like a My Chem fan at all, or?
I am a massive
with them.
Actually, I missed them. My girlfriend saw them yesterday at the Hydro in Glasgow, which was their last day of the UK tour, and she was showing me videos of them, and they just look insane. And I've seen Frank Hero in a lot of projects. Like I watched him support Dave Hawes, a small venue in Aberdeen. I've seen him at 2000 Trees, and Frank Hero to me is like one of the most influential people in punk rock. You know, he basically invented what the phrase emo became. He invented a movement of people, and you know, without him, you wouldn't have this. And I think like without that band, you wouldn't have a lot of bands you have now. And it's impossible to have grown up in the period that I grew up in and being, I guess, high school to 2005, 2006, and not be aware of who My Chemical Romance were, because literally every party I went to, like Helena would be playing or Give 'Em Hell would be playing, and like people would be down in beers, and it was just such an influential part of my childhood, and I still listen to those records now with the same affection that I did, you know, 20 years ago.
Same here. New Jersey band. Representing.
Yeah, all the best bands from New Jersey, right? You also have the Bouncing Souls though, and they, like, to me, they were an even bigger part of my childhood. So yeah, you have some great bands.
You should try and play the Stone Pony when you come here.
I would love to play the Stone Pony.
We would love to have you.
I also would love to play Crossroads. I think, like, you know, it's
oh, that'd be fun.
Crossroads, yeah. And the thing is, like, I have a lot of friends over there, like Rocky Cantonese from Mercy Union, really good friends with him. And he always is telling me about all these shows they're doing in New Jersey and who plays there. And I'm just like, oh, dude, I'm so jealous. And it's like, I guess the Gaslight Anthem have their roots there. You have Springsteen, and you have like such a musical history. That is like probably one of the most densely musical areas of the US I would consider. Being a Scotsman, I can't wait to come across and visit. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We
know you
bleed
got
punk rock in New Jersey.
Oh yeah. I know you got to do your New York shows, but make sure to get a Jersey
we'll
show.
do New Jersey. Don't worry. Our manager is someone called Anna Jacobson Long, who basically she did the Gaslight Anthem all the way through the 59. So like she was their manager throughout all of this, and every time we always talk about going to the US, she always says we will be doing Jersey. Do not worry, because it's the first
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be so fun to sing along to this album. Dude, the lyrics aren't even on like Spotify yet. Like I Google lyrics sometimes and they weren't even popping up at the beginning. Like this album came so out of nowhere for us. Just wild trying to learn it, trying to sing along. Like
it came out of nowhere for us too. Like I remember we'd pushed back the release of our last record over and over and over. And when it became clear that COVID was here to stay, I got a call from our manager, from our record label, who basically said, you have probably 2 years sitting on your ass, not touring. So I think you should make another record. And at that point, I was like, no way, this is crazy. No chance. Like, we haven't got the time for this. And this was like July 2020. And they were like, yeah, we want you to record it in April 21. So you have like a really short window to write the album. So we started writing songs slowly, and by the time we got to like September, we had like 3 songs, like not a lot. By the time we hit January, we had 40. And we then spent 2 months with a producer on Zoom calls, editing all the songs and all the demos. And then by the time we hit the studio, we were ready. And it was that period of time to have the focus and the time to just focus on music. And it really, without that, we wouldn't have been able to do it. And then before you knew it, it's now and it's coming out. So it's out. So yeah, it's been a flash. Yeah.
Do you think like COVID took a lot of like out of Paradise? Because I feel like Paradise kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit because like it came out like around in 2020. But like a lot of like what you guys did excellently on this album like was going on the previous album. I feel like it just kind of got a little lost. But I feel like a lot of bands kind of went through that with COVID.
Yeah, I think so. But you know what? I don't think I would have had it any other way, because when I listen back to Paradise now, and as much as I like that album, I still think this one's better, and I still think this one is how we're supposed to sound as a band. So if any record was going to get more push, then I'm glad it's this one. I like both of them, but I think this one for me is probably the direction that we're going to be heading in for the significant future. I think is my point on that. And I'm really glad to have had the opportunity to had the time to write it. And I think it's also kind of cool, because when we're playing these shows now, and it's the first time in these countries that we've been able to play some of the songs from Paradise, let alone some of the songs on the new album. So it's really nice that we're kind of doing almost like a double album kind of tour for the first time, and it's really cool. Yeah.
How do you prepare for tour? Like just a lot of rehearsal, like working the set list and stuff? What goes into that?
Definitely rehearsal. Like our drummer lives in Wolverhampton, which is like 7 hours drive south, and then Louis lives up in Aberdeen, which is like an hour north, 2 hours north, and then me and Finley live in Glasgow. So for like every weekend for like a month, we'll just all meet here and rehearse 20 hours a week, weekend over 2 days. And that'll happen 4 or 5 weeks in a row before we go. And set lists are really funny. We don't really write set lists until like the very last minute. And it'll sometimes change night to night, but I think it depends on where we're going. But it's that, and constantly I'm like an OCD person with my equipment. I have to like go through it all over and over and over and over, and restring everything and retension everything and reintonate everything and tighten everything up and resolder pickups and jacks and all that kind of stuff. It's like OCD, like for ready. And I'll pack my bag like 8 times, just to make sure that I've got everything. And it's like, yeah, it's exciting. And then probably just before we leave, I'll keep warming my voice. I have like loads of vocal exercises I do every day to try and stay in shape, because it's like a muscle. You have to keep exercising it essentially. And then that's it. Then we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorites to do live? I'm sure they're all fun. Yeah.
Headstone, 32. I like Life of the View. It's funny because on the last run of dates we did like a split between old and new songs in Germany, and then on this Laura run that we have, we're kind of doing the same, but then we have another run in August, which I think we're going to focus primarily on the new album, so we have some new songs to learn. So I'm excited to play songs that we haven't played live yet, so things like Say Goodbye, Control, Britain is Dead, like all those kind of songs. I'm really looking forward to playing them too.
You've been playing Goodbye to Misery live? Because I'm curious how like the crowd reacts to that breakdown in that song.
We have. It's like, I think it's like the second song on the set list. It's kind of, we like to roll songs into each other. So I don't like to stop. Is like if you're on a stage to play music and you have an hour, you squeeze as many songs into that hour as possible. I don't like people who stop and talk for like 10 minutes. So we kind of do like, I think on the last run of dates, we were doing what was it we're doing? Night Like This, and then we rolled it straight into Goodbye to Misery. And the people were like, oh, I didn't expect this. And then when the breakdown comes, like, it's really cool because like we got a lot of different kinds of people coming to our shows, and obviously some of them like hardcore music, because a lot of people were throwing themselves around the room like in a big way, which is a really cool thing to see. Like, it was awesome. Yeah.
You gotta get some stage dives and get into the crowd.
yeah.
Mix it up.
We did that. We absolutely did that, and then immediately tested for COVID afterwards and thought, let's not do that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
You spoil the whole tour.
Yeah, well, we got a little carried away on that run. So I think we have to be really careful. I think speaking of that, it just shows you the vulnerability. Luckily none of us got sick, but so many bands I know. I mean, we're playing Slam Dunk this weekend in Leeds, like north and south, so Leeds and London, and so many American bands are pulling out just now because of COVID, and because you have to get a negative test to get back into the US and all this kind of stuff. And it just shows you that although music is back, the regulations, unfortunately, that are being enforced at the moment still make it really difficult for musicians to, I guess, work. And it's, people in this country, in the UK, aren't wearing masks. People in Europe aren't wearing masks at shows. So it's quite dangerous. So you have to be really careful. And I think, fair enough, we had those 3 dates. None of us got sick. That was lucky. But going forward, we're not going to be doing that until at least the regulations ease up and at least the level comes down a little bit where we can relax a little again. So, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be careful to preserve the whole tour for sure.
Yeah, because it's a lot of money and it's people's livelihoods and not just that. I mean, letting down people who've waited for 2-3 years to see you live, and then you're like, sorry, I have to cancel because I have COVID. I don't want to be that guy. So yeah, we're going to be really safe on these runs.
I saw you're on some festivals. Like, I was just kind of looking up your tour the other day. I saw this one come up, 200 Trees. It looks like it has a pretty crazy lineup. 2000.
Yeah,
Oh,
2000 trees. Yeah. It's got like Jimmy Eat World on it.
Yeah. Do you get to meet any of those guys? Like when you do festivals like that? How does that go?
It's really weird. Like, so this weekend, like Slam Dunk. And Slam Dunk is like, I mean, if you see the lineup for this festival, you'll understand it. Like, I mean, the Interrupters are playing, Alexis on Fire are playing, Wonder Years are playing, and everybody just mulls around. It's so weird because we feel so out of place because we're like nobodies, right? But then you're walking around this artist area and it's like just full of people who are like your childhood heroes, or like people who are like huge. And then it's just like everybody just hangs out and has a beer. It's like a normal, it's just like going to a bar. It's really strange, but it's really cool. And you get it's a good opportunity to make a lot of good connections at these festivals, because it's like your networking opportunity, and it's your chance to like maybe say hi as someone that you've listened to a long time. And like one of the bands I'm looking forward to seeing the most was Sum 41. And I love Sum 41. All Killer No Filler was one of my favorite records. It still is. And I saw their set list for, like, they've been opening up with Motivation, and I'm like, what a great way to open the set. And yeah, it's really cool. 2000 Trees is the same. Everybody just hangs out in the same area and says hey. There's no,
That's great.
yeah.
We are just supposed to see some 41 and COVID/rain got it canceled. So it's
Yeah,
happening
they
in
got
August
COVID.
now. So hopefully
Oh my.
it still happens.
I heard that they're touring Does This Look Infected at the end of the year.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought,
Like,
yeah, because they're doing all killer no filler right now.
yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna do it. They're gonna invert it and do Does This Look Infected in
Oh, let's
October.
go.
I'm gonna go to that.
Yeah, definitely.
Love
They're
both those
awesome.
albums.
Have you seen them before?
About 2000 and oh my god, when was it? Oh, like I'm trying to count how many years ago. What, like 2007, 2008? It's the last time I saw them. So
Nice.
a long time ago.
They shred live. Like I think
Yeah,
people don't
Frank,
realize sometimes how crazy metal they are.
their new drummer Frank is insane. Frank Zumo. He's doing a solo set at Slam Dunk before they play this year, and I'm gonna go watch him. All it is just him shredding on the drums for like 45 minutes. I'm really excited to see it. He's
Wow.
a great player. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Now I
that's
have a
awesome.
non-music question for you. So I know you're from Glasgow, so I got to ask, what football club do you support if you support one?
None of them.
None of
I
them.
hate it.
Okay.
I hate it. You know, it's the embarrassment of my country. It's like loads of dudes fighting over some Dutch guy from a different country they never met 400 years ago over some religion that doesn't even matter. Like, you know, it's like it's crazy. You know, I mean, my girlfriend's Irish, so she obviously is pretty close to it and has a lot more of an understanding of it than I do. But in Scotland, it's like this weird segregational thing that just causes hatred and violence, and I just don't like any of it. I
It's
thought,
that Celtic Rangers rivalry.
oh
That
yeah,
I've read so
man,
much
like
about that.
they like Rangers guys. I mean, I've seen them trash the city, throw fireworks at people, you know, and the police just stand and watch because they're all part of it. And it's like it, and then you have these orange marches where they march down the street singing about killing Catholics. Like I don't understand
Oh
it
my God.
myself. It's like something out of like a war movie, and it's not something I want to be associated with. So I hate that it's like we call it Scotland shame, I guess is probably what you would, that's what it's described by people who live here. But it's really crazy. Like it's the only part of Scotland this happens, nowhere else, only in Glasgow. It's
I
so
didn't know it
weird.
was like that. Like we would know from over here, but that's crazy.
No, like it's all to do with it's not really about the football. It's about religion, and it's about whether you want to remain in the UK or whether you want to be independent. And then, you know, it's this Catholic Protestant thing, and yeah, it's just an excuse for a bunch of older guys to fight each other. That's how I describe it.
They need to just bring it to the mosh pits and just control it, and just bump into
That's,
each other like men.
that is absolutely it. Just get a little circle pit going. I'm sure the
That's
That's
circle.
it.
What are some of your favorite guitars? I know you said you play Les Pauls.
I only play Les Paul Juniors. I to be fair, we've just done some really cool stuff in the studio in the last couple of months, covering a couple of songs that we never thought we'd get the opportunity to do. And I used my friend, he lent me a 57 Les Paul Gold Top, which was pretty cool.
Oh damn.
But majority I've got like 2005 Les Paul Junior, and then I have a 58 Les Paul Junior, like a black one. And now I got a 57 TV yellow custom shop, like the single cut. And it just, there's something about those guitars, P90, slab of wood, volume button. That's all you need. And it just rocks out. And they hold their tuning and they look cool when all mine
Yeah.
are beat up to hell. One of them has a really bad neck repair with a bolt through it. Like, I mean, but they're so reliable. I'm touching wood. Yeah, Les Paul Juniors. And do you know what? I have a Strat I use for some of the E flat stuff that I sometimes use as a backup. But other than that, it's always Les Paul Juniors everywhere in the studio, live, constantly.
That's
it.
great. Do you use any pedals, or is it kind of just raw through the Marshalls?
Just the tuner. That's it.
Nice.
And
Love it.
I use it depends. I mean, the juniors are all different weights, so sometimes I'll maybe use an EQ to balance out a little bit if I need a little bit more low end. And all of it is through. Marshall gave me a really good deal. I have like 2 412s and a Jubilee and an 800, all running all the time, full out. No, I have an AB switch, but it's just set on 2 amps all the time. I don't have a switching system. And it's these Marshall, I don't know if you've seen them, the studio versions, like the 20 watts, which are really cool. And to be fair, it's misleading because you think they're not going to be that loud, but I beat it against the 100 watt in the last set of dates we did, and the 800 is literally, it's probably like 2 or 3 decibels quieter than the 100, and it's lighter and it's more compact, and you can crank the volume a lot higher and get that natural kind of tube break up, and it just sounds great.
Nice. Then you
Yeah.
could rip that "Say Goodbye" solo.
I don't play any solos. Finley's the guy for that. But
Oh, Finley.
I mean,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, the thing for me is,
He kills it on that. That's a great solo.
As a rhythm player, my job is to create as much, I guess, sound as possible, because there's only the 2 guitar players. I wish I could have a third one, but I can't afford it. And it would be this thing where it's like you need to fill out the sound. So that's why I use 2 amps, and that's why I play so hard. Pretty much.
So who's your drummer currently? Because I know you mentioned Sam recorded drums, but he's not your drummer.
No, he's in Static Dress, so he's a little busy. He was over with Bring Me the Horizon playing in Malta this weekend. This is pretty cool.
Wow.
But we have so our drummer is a guy called Jimmy, who we met. His name is Jimmy Taylor. We met him on a tour about like 5 years ago. He was in a band called Dearest, who at the time, oddly enough, had played some shows with the Wonder Years. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I went to go watch him, and he was so tight live. And I remember saying at the time to the rest of my band, I was like, I really want this guy to drum for us. It's never going to happen. And then Fraser left, and then I gave him a call. I hadn't spoken to him in like 5 years, and I just called him up and said, hey, do you want to join our band? And at the time, he was in another band called Hell's Ditch, who were playing with Cali Massey. And our UK run, he quit his band before that run to join us, like 3 months before. And the second or the third show was Birmingham, and his old band were playing at that show, and it was weird, put it that way, but he got through it. He was a champ. The guy slays. He's a really, really good drummer, and he's a punk drummer. His favorite band's Bad Religion, so like, he can play tight, and he can hit fills, and he's got a character, and he's also the funniest guy you'll ever meet. So yeah, he's great. I love playing with him.
And he'll be on the albums going forward?
He will be. He'll be on everything going forward. He's did any of you watch Peaky Blinders?
Some
I've
of
been
it.
told to, but
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
I'm waiting.
He has the same accent as Tommy Shelby. So yeah, it's quite funny. When you'll meet him, and when you talk to him, you'll be like, what the hell did this guy just say to me?
I've been told I need like subtitles when I watch. So that explains it.
Yeah, you might need it for the Scottish guys too. We're all like that. You don't understand what we're saying sometimes.
Yeah, I told my friend he lives over by you somewhere. His parents are from Aberdeen, and he's like, oh, they have the craziest accents. Like, good luck understanding it. But no, it worked out.
The minute I drink any whiskey, you won't be able to understand the word I'm saying.
Oh, I love it. Brett, you got any more?
I was kind of curious, like kind of like, what were you listening to at the time you were recording Goodbye to Misery, as far as like influences go?
Bad Religion. It's funny, I always tell the same story. I was out with my dog on the beach, and the title for the record came to me because I was out walking him, and I just lost my job. Girlfriend and I had broken up. I couldn't afford my home. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't like living in Aberdeen anymore. And I was walking the dog, and the sun was coming up on the beach, and I had control in my head, in my earphones. And I just looked up and thought, I'm so fed of being sad, and life's actually really cool. Goodbye Misery. And that was it. It just set the tone for the whole record. And for me, everything from Joan Jett and the Black Hearts to the Ramones to Green Day to the Clash, like the Bouncing Souls, the Vandals, everybody. Like, just, I mean, I got a stupid record collection of vinyl, and I went through the whole time of lockdown just buying cheap records off eBay for like £3, £4, and then just buying anything I could just to hear new music, and rediscover old music that I hadn't heard in a long time. So the answer is I listen to everything. when writing this record. And I think, yeah, it was just a really cool experience to get the opportunity to do that.
No, that's a great story. That's like music had like this power to lift you up, and that's clearly like what this album does for like anyone who listens to it too. So
Well, I
definitely drove
think
that home.
it's you know, a lot of people were lonely through the last couple of years. I was really lonely for extended periods of time, and music was always there for me. Like no matter how lonely I got, it was the one thing that I always had, and it was like this company that I had, and I could, it accompanied every single daily part of my life. So throughout that pandemic, and it still does. So for me, it was kind of that's the message, is that it doesn't matter how alone you are, you're always going to have music and it's always going to be there. So
These songs inside our heads.
Yeah.
songs
That's
that
what I
I
was
had,
thinking.
that's it. That's it. That's it. You're quoting my own lyrics, Abby. This is cool.
Were you always writing songs like your whole life?
Yeah, I started at about 8 or 9. I
Nice.
picked up a guitar at 6, from the equivalent of what I guess you guys in America would call Sears catalog. We had Argos, and I had one of those. And then 8 or 9. But I write all the time. I write songs for myself. I write songs with my partner. I'm writing another record now. Like we've already started writing another album. Because I think like you always have to be working as a musician. You can't just sit back. Like any given moment that you're at home, you have to be doing this. And all of us work other jobs on top of this too at the moment. So it's like it's a constant balancing act. But I find music as a really good release to the stress of everyday life. I've had a bad day at work. First thing I'll do is go home and write a song. So it's like it's we're always working, always. So, which is fun.
Yeah, can't wait to hear more. Do you have any plans for any of those B-sides from Goodbye to Misery? You said you wrote like 40 songs.
Well, we might do stuff with it. We also, I mean, maybe I tend to, a lot of the time I tend to just ditch songs that don't make records because I don't believe in recycling them. But a few of them I think maybe we might do something with. We also have some live stuff from some UK dates we did back in December, that we might do something with. And we have a couple of other things coming out this year too, which are not ours, but they are other people's songs that we've had the luck to have the opportunity to work with, which I'm really stoked on. And I think between all of that, and I guess, you never know, I think is the answer there. We have a lot of material that we haven't released, and I think something needs to happen with it. I'd like to see something happen with some of it, definitely.
Cool. And then one of my last questions, any plans for a vinyl release? Because I've been looking, but I didn't see any vinyl for Goodbye to Misery.
On vinyl.
It is out it's out already, but I don't know. We've had real challenges with vinyl delays. I think we've had the same challenges, and I know it's out in Europe and the UK, but I have no idea about the US. But I can definitely find out for you. But it should be. I think we've got like 5 or 6 variants in America right now on vinyls. So
I guess I just didn't search hard enough. I just was looking on Google.
If you go on the MNRK website and click on the US region, it should give you the options on the vinyl. We've definitely got some.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'll check that out.
No worries.
Definitely need that on vinyl.
Yeah.
No worries. Not a problem at all. If you speak to our, I don't know if you can, we're on podcast right now, but you can hit me up after this and we can sort something out. Okay.
All right. That sounds good.
No worries.
Hopefully we can see you at the Pony or Crossroads. We could drink some PBRs.
I would love that. I'd love
That'd
to
be
drink
great.
PBR and the Pony. That would be the dream. Yeah, and definitely awesome. Yeah, I'm 100% down for that. We'll be in America next year.
Nice. We'll be
Can't
there
wait for that.
Awesome.
Ross, thank you so much. This was so fun to talk about this album. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and thank you so much for being so nice. I think this is the first time I've spoken to anybody American about this record, so it's kind of a cool experience. So thank you.
It's an honor.
Yeah, we're honored to be the first.
You're the first. And yeah, I'll see you at a show really soon.
Awesome.
forward
Best
to
of luck
it.
with the tour coming up. And yeah, have fun.
Thank you, man. Take care, guys.
Yep.
All right, thanks,
You too.
Ross.
Thanks. Bye.
Later. Okay, we're back. Thank you to Ross. That was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so fun.
The interview was everything we wanted to be and more. And I really wish them all the success in the world and hope they blow up here, because I honestly think it has a potential to be like this generation's American Idiot, as long as it gets to as many years as it deserves to be in.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So go listen to it and then come back here. Or just finish the episode if you want. It's cool.
And then
either
listen
way-
after.
Either way, go listen to it. Brett, what was your theory that we were getting into before the break?
So I'm throwing this thought out into the universe and hoping it comes true. But now that the Gaslight Anthem are back, I'm hoping when they drop their new album and then tour that new album, Cold Years is their opener.
Ooh, that would be super cool.
It's a perfect pairing. I honestly hope. I mean, I know he knows some of the guys there, so I'm hoping it does happen. I feel like Brian definitely knows how good they are.
Yeah.
So,
But if they do
Do it.
that, they have to promise to play small venues.
yes. I mean, I'm hoping they do like a small venue headlining tour themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
He
We can-
promised
we
us the
get both.
pony, so I'm hoping we get a
Yeah.
Stone Pony headlining Cold Year
Yeah.
show.
Uh, that would be sick. That would be real sick. We were talking before about that band No Pressure from the Story So Far's guy, and it got me thinking about side project bands. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of your favorite side projects?
So some of mine like kind of toe the line of side project. Like I'm gonna throw some of these out there, and they're pretty much like full ongoing bands, but they're also like you said, on the side of their main band. But
Yeah.
like some of my favorite ones over the years, like Stone Sour, actually like
good
Corey
one.
Taylor's like side project, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Velvet Revolver was a big one for me growing up. It's like a super group, but I think that also counts as a side project.
Yeah,
and
that's a
then-
good one.
And then piggybacking off that, Audio Slave.
Oh
Pretty much
yeah.
Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell.
Yes. Yeah, I had them come to mind too.
Perfect
Yeah, those
Circle.
are- Yep. They're up there. This band, Blink 182, they're a side project of Angels and
Yes.
Airwaves.
And plus 44.
But yeah, definitely plus 44, Angels and Airwaves, Boxcar Racer, I think all fall into
Oh,
side
I
projects.
can't forget Boxcar Racer.
Yeah. Temple of the Dog, I think
That's a good one.
counts as a side project.
I put City in Color. It was like Alexis on Fire. Alexis on Fire.
Oh no.
We still don't know, but
Oh yeah.
Horrible Crows, Brian Fallon side project.
Ooh. I don't know about that one.
Elsie,
that
incredible album.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I think any band that is not the main project is the side project. But like it's hard to consider like you said, some of these bands side projects, but I guess you could say if it's not like what they came up on, like
That's what I counted it as.
is
I mean-
is Foo Fighters a Nirvana side project?
I feel like they can't be because Nirvana was done at that point, right?
Yeah, no, that doesn't count. Definitely doesn't count.
Because I feel like you get that you kind of get people like arguing that they're super groups, which they are. Honestly, like Velvet Revolver had like easily one of the best frontmen to ever do it with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And same thing with Audio Slave, one of the best like bands with one of the best singers of all time.
Yep.
But also they were their own thing, and they put out like 3 albums. So it's not like it was a temporary side project.
Yeah, I think you could say all super groups are side projects, but not all side projects are super groups.
I like that rule.
Yeah. Unless you just really love a band and just want to dub them a super group. Like Fish is obviously
Fair.
a super group in my eyes because they're the best band to ever live. Shout
allow
out
it.
Summer
I'll
Tour,
allow
which
it.
just started. But yeah, it's interesting to think about some of these side projects. Like these artists just can't get enough of music, or like in some cases, like I know what like a Perfect Circle or even what was the other band, Pucifer, right?
Was it Pucifer or was it Pussifier?
Oh, I don't know. I've never said it out loud, really. I always just read it.
I know like how raunchy Tool could be, so I always assume that's what it was.
That makes way more sense. And you've just like opened my eyes to this. Wow. Yeah, I know like Tool was like wrapped up with like label stuff that I don't think they could put out music like until they got that settled. So like they almost had no choice but to just go do side projects if they wanted to keep putting out music.
Perfect Circle is good though. I'm pretty sure there's like members of Smashing Pumpkins with him too. Right? Didn't he have a guitarist with him?
Yeah, I think you're right. I can't think of his name. But yeah.
Yeehaw. That's his last name.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about, but I can't, I don't know it off the top of my head. And then I mentioned Fish, so I have to mention Oysterhead. It's Les Claypool of Primus and Trey Anastasio of Fish. And then Stuart Copeland of I don't remember what he's from, but yeah, that's like another side project supergroup. Like these guys are just so creative and they want to get together with other creative musicians. Gotta respect it.
And then scratch itches they might not be able to scratch in their main
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimmy Eha, okay.
Oh,
Or James Eha.
Jimmy Eha. I love their.
I might
love
be
their work.
pronouncing that
I
wrong.
love their
but
song, The Middle.
It's IHA. I just got that. They're going on tour too.
Really? Oh man, I've been listening to. I should have said this at the beginning, but I've been listening to Static Prevails like so much ever since we read that Dan Ozzie book, and like I don't even think the dude who sings in Jimmy Eat World, I guess Jim Atkins. I don't think he really even sings on that first album. Like he does some backup stuff, but it's a great album. But I would love. I never miss Jimmy Eat World if I can help it. They're an amazing live band.
I think they're gonna be at Starland in September
Oh, all right. If I don't have plans,
with
am
Charlie
going.
Bliss opening.
Oh, that's cool. I've listened to them, but I don't like know them.
Same,
But yeah,
but people talk them up all the time.
yeah. And then so we were just talking about Blink. We have to mention Enema State turns 23 today.
So a couple weeks ago we had "What's My Age Again" turn 23, right? Now it's
Yeah.
the full album turning
Now it's the
23.
whole album. And anytime anything Blink related turns 23, it's very exciting.
It's the perfect setup for a joke. So
Yeah, you have to talk about it. It's just the rule. But that album is perfect.
it always will be. And I
Yeah,
will always regret not seeing it in person at the final Warped Tour. But we already talked about that story.
yeah, it's all right. Tom wasn't in the band. He didn't
That's
miss
true.
anything. We have a voicemail today. So before we talk about Enema of the State, I want to play our voicemail because it'll lead into more discussion on that. So our friend Vinny called back and had a question, a Blink related question. So I'm going to fire it off right here. Here we go.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Brett. It's Vinny calling again. I just wanted to call in and ask you guys on the 23rd anniversary of Enema of the State, if you guys could play Fuck Kill Mary with these three albums. Enema of the State, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and the self-titled, of course. Looking forward to which one you guys pick because I don't think that's an easy question. Yeah, keep up the good work, guys. Love you. And kisses. Bye.
Love you, Vinny.
Thank you, Vinny.
That is a really hard question.
Yeah, I don't know if we should be thanking him or cursing him because
The hard part's the kill, obviously.
of course, of course, just ask Jared Leto.
Well played.
Well, I don't want to kill any of these albums. I love all these albums, but which one do you love the most? That's the one you'll have to marry.
I think I'm marrying self-titled.
I think you have to marry self-titled because it's like a love album practically. How do you?
It's not going to steer you wrong.
No, it'll always be. there
Enema's
for
not
you.
ready to settle down yet.
No, not at all. And Take Off Your Pants and Jacket is too self-loathing to start a relationship with. But self-titled, it's gonna be there for you. It's always gonna take care of you, and it's gonna warm your heart. always.
The angel from our nightmare.
Yeah. All right, so
I think
yeah, you
I'm
go.
I'm,
I don't
I'm killing take off your pants and jacket. Unfortunately, I can't kill Enema.
I know. I know.
There is no take off, and I think they hated making that one too. So it kind of makes it a little easier to like digest, I guess, killing it. But
I know they definitely resented like First Date and Rock Show a little bit because they were forced to make a summer single. So they both went off and wrote, in their words, the corniest summer singles you could ask for. And then they
and it
wrote
worked.
they're great songs. But I don't know
There's
about
some
you.
really quality songs on there too.
Take Off Your Pants and Jacket was the first Blink album I ever owned. How can you kill the first? How can you kill your first?
Enema was mine. That's why I think it's a little easier for me.
Yeah. See, you don't have the same little extra attachment that I have to deal with right here.
Couldn't throw Buddha in there, Vinny.
I know, right? Come on, man. Cheshire Cat. Although we don't condone animal abuse on this podcast,
No.
so or
We will
bestiality.
not kill the
so
cat.
we can't fuck it or kill it. So we'd have to
I didn't
marry.
even think
the
about
cat.
that part.
We'd have to get our PETA on and just marry the cat.
I guess you can't kill Buddha either.
True. I mean, that's gonna curse you for life. You can't kill like
How about neighborhoods? We'll put neighborhoods in there.
yeah.
Easy kill.
Not a bad album, but an easy kill if you're
Easy
comparing
kill.
it to the others.
Another Jimmy Eat World reference.
Ooh. I think you're right. Like, I don't know. Online song, Story of a Lonely Guy. Like,
Anthem Part 2.
yeah, like you want me to kill the Anthem Part 2? What's wrong with you, Brett? How could you do
Stay
this?
Together for the Kids.
Yeah. Well, we can't marry this album and then divorce it. We know that much because of Stay Together for the Kids. Reckless Abandon.
Every Time I Look for You is a good one.
This album feels like the perfect bridge between Enema of State and Self-Titled because it's getting slightly more mature, but it's not like fully there yet.
I think they wanted it to be, but then they made them write Rock Show and First Date.
I guess if you take Rock Show and First Date off,
And I guess Happy Holidays too.
yeah, yeah, we're not quite there yet. So I had the edited version of this because I was like, what, like 9 or 10 when it came out.
Wasn't it just like an instrumental?
Yep. And then at the very end, it would just say, "I'll never talk to you again." And I never knew any better until like I went to a friend's house and realized.
Like there's words here.
But I can't kill Enema State on its birthday.
That's the hardest question I think we've gotten so far.
It's
Easily.
It's really an unfair question, and I resent Vinny for it.
Vinny knows what he's doing.
Don't Bleed, Don't Leave Me. This, I mean, this album is like the album I want to party with, but it's not party, marry, kill, or party, fuck, marry. You gotta fuck Enema State. I mean,
You have to.
look at the album cover.
I didn't want to say it, but
Used to see this girl in my dreams. She like does like appearances still to this day. I think she still rides a little bit of fame from this. There's like, I'm pretty sure she's done like signings at bars and stuff like that.
I believe it.
Sorry.
Everyone remembers her from.
I'm sorry, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. But now I'm looking at it. Hurts my soul. You know what? I'm gonna kill Enema of State. I take it back. I'm gonna kill Enema of State. And I'm gonna fuck Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and marry Self-Titled.
So we agree on marry, but that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can have your fling with the earlier album, but I want Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. It just has too much. It's too well balanced. I can't abandon it. I can't recklessly abandon
Well played.
it. Thank you, Vinny, Fuck you, Vinny.
Not
Very hard
fair at all.
question. Yeah, no fair at all.
Now I'm just going through their discography.
How do like half our podcast episodes end with like a 20-minute discussion on Blink?
I'm blank.
This is just a Blink podcast.
Until they're officially back together.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we got for next week? It's really, I feel like we're in a lull
gonna-
right now with
We're
albums.
gonna lull until the end of June. And I feel like the end of June, early July, there's like a ton of releases coming out. I think
Yeah.
the next couple weeks we're gonna like tread water a little bit till we get some
we
big ones coming
We're
up.
just waiting on Weezer to put out their seasonal album, as
And get
is
Parko back on.
the rest of the world, the most highly anticipated summer album, summer saying of all time.
I hope it's a very white album, mate, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm just excited for another batch of songs. Like I haven't gone back and listened to Spring once since we
No,
talked
not since
about
our
it,
episode.
but I still really enjoyed listening to it for those like 3 days.
It wasn't terrible.
No, it was fine. It's funny with some of these albums, like I enjoy them, but deep down I know like I'm probably not going to go back. It's a weird
Yeah.
thing. But if they brought me joy for a couple days, it's pretty good.
That's all you can ask.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll
Yeah.
see though.
I think-
You
We got some stuff in the works.
do.
We got a little draft episode maybe coming up.
That's gonna be a very, very fun episode that I
Can
believe we're
you-
recording next week.
Can you remind me and the listeners exactly what the premise of this episode is going to be?
Sure, I might as well lay it out now because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a hefty episode, so I won't have to go in depth with explaining it then. But so basically, you're going on a road trip. You have a car, has a CD player. It's a 6 CD player, so you have to pick 6 CDs for this road trip. And the era is the year 1999 through 2011. Albums from that time range, and you can only have 6. And we can't repeat each other's picks either. Has to be your own unique collection that you're taking with you. And when somebody else takes that CD, you can't put it in your car because it's in their car.
Oh my God. Wow. I wonder how we pick the order. We'll have to think of something fun.
We need like a number generator.
No, we could do something better than that. We could do something goofy. I don't know what, but we'll brainstorm.
Something with
ideas.
blank.
Yeah. We'll
Those
do
are gonna be
some-
up for just probably lead to some heated debates with people taking Blink albums.
Yeah. I mean, it's I won't get into it too much, but you're going to want a well-balanced CD player, I think.
You are.
All right. We'll let that stew. We'll think on it, obviously, since we're not doing that right now. Let the listeners think on it.
I do think Enema is why we extended it to 1999 instead of just doing like 2000, 2010. We were like, oh, but 2011 was a good year too. And 1999 was a good year. So let's just do that time range. So
I think I could just do like 04
Flexible.
to 07 and probably pull it off pretty well. Spoiler alert.
really could probably. But if that one goes well, we'll come back and do songs, I think.
Oh, you have like an iPod with no storage. You can only fit like 10
A
songs. on
shuffle.
it. It's like my first cell phone that could ever hold music. I think I was able to put like 6 MP3s on it.
And you knew them all by heart.
Oh yeah. I was just so excited to have music on my phone, even though it wasn't practical at all.
And now the iPod's dead and we all have music on our phones.
Yeah. Music
Unlimited
in the clouds.
in the clouds.
Yeah. That's our show. Thank you everyone for listening. Thanks again to Ross. That was an awesome interview.
We were his first American interview, which is wild. I
Yeah.
can't believe that still.
Yeah, that was super cool to hear. I can't wait for them to come over here.
I can't either. I can't wait. Hope they take over this country
Yeah. Let's
musically
get that album to blow up.
or politically too. But
Yep. Well, thank you everyone. We love you all, and we'll see you next week.
love you, Nick.
Love you too, Brett. Bye.
Bye.